Everyone talks about manifestation as if it's some light and love Instagram quote. Like if you just think good thoughts and say your affirmations 33 times, the universe will roll out a red carpet and hand you your dream life. But let me tell you something that most people won't. Manifestation isn't for good people, not the way that you've been taught to be good. If you really want to materialize the reality you see in your mind, the vision that keeps you up at night, you're going to have to let go of the need to be seen as good. You're going to have to step into the energy of someone who doesn't flinch when others get uncomfortable. Because the truth is, most people are blocked not by their technique, not by their mindset, but by your addiction to being liked. Your craving to be relatable, to be accepted, to be loved for fitting in. And that's exactly the frequency that's keeping your dream out of reach. Now, when I say you need to become a bad person, I'm not talking about turning into a supervillain. I'm not telling you to hurt people, betray your values, or become a narcissist. What I am saying is this: if you're going to escape the gravity of mediocrity, if you're going to break the energetic ceiling you've been living under, you're gonna have to be willing to disappoint people. You're gonna have to be unrelatable. You're gonna have to stop shrinking yourself to fit into the same mold everyone else is melting in. You've been taught your whole life that being good means being small, polite, humble, quiet, digestible, but none of that energy creates anything powerful. So manifestation is for bad people now. And if that word makes you uncomfortable, you've already proven my point. Part 1. Let's get something straight before we go any further. When I say a good person, I'm not talking about your character. I'm not talking about kindness, honesty, or integrity. I'm talking about the socially programmed version of what it means to be good. The one where you never step out of line, you never ruffle any feathers, you never say what you actually think. The version of good that exists purely to make other people comfortable. And if that's the energy you're living in, I promise you that's the very frequency repelling your manifestations. Think about it. What does it mean to be a good person in this context? It means you don't do too much. You don't outshine anyone. You don't make people uncomfortable. You essentially just stay in line and you stay relatable. You water yourself down just enough to stay palatable for the people around you. And what does that create? Mediocrity. It creates an average being. Energetically, it creates a loop, a closed circuit where nothing new can be born, because nothing bold is being risked. You signed an invisible contract to stay small, and now you're wondering why the universe keeps handing you small things. But you're not here because you want average. You're here because the life you want doesn't even fit in other people's minds, let alone their approval. And that's the problem. You keep attempting to manifest an uncommon reality while living in the frequency of compliance. You're so afraid of doing too much, of being too much, that you shrink your actions, your voice, your energy every time you feel that resistance. But hear me and hear me clearly, you were never meant to be relatable. That was the trap put onto us by society. You were meant to be unmistakable. To get a little more personal, how many times have you caught yourself holding back because you didn't want someone to think you changed? How many dreams have you delayed because someone might feel insecure next to your glow up? You call it being considerate, but spiritually, it is self-sabotage. The moment you put someone else's comfort over your alignment, your power drops. And the moment your power drops, so does your magnetism. Because manifestation is not about being liked. It's not about fitting in. It's not even about being positive all the time. It's about energetic authority over oneself. It's about embodying a version of yourself that no longer asks permission to exist boldly. And that version will not be labeled good by society's standards. It'll be called arrogant. It'll be deemed selfish, delusional. Some will say you're too much and overbearing. And when you hear those words, you'll know that you're finally being who you're meant to be. Part 2. You're afraid of what success will cost you. See, you say you want success, but every time you get close to it, something inside of you pulls back. Not because you're lazy, not because you're unmotivated, but because deep down you know exactly what success comes with: separation. And that terrifies you more than failure ever could. To explain what I mean, you've been conditioned your whole life to associate belonging with survival. The moment you start standing out, rising up, or breaking patterns, your nervous system panics. It says, wait, if I evolve too far from the tribe, then they might leave me. They might hate me. I might lose love. And that thought alone is enough to make you unconsciously sabotage your own momentum. You're not scared of your vision. You're scared of who you'll lose on the way to becoming your vision. That's the trap of being a good person. It tells you to stay close, stay small, don't outgrow the people you love. Be the same person they've always known, even if that version of you is suffocating. But the truth is, you cannot elevate and stay accessible to everyone. You cannot climb and stay familiar. You cannot be extraordinary and remain relatable. Those are opposing energies. And to take things a little deeper, what happens when you do succeed? When your bank account does hit that number, when your body transforms, when your lifestyle shifts? The comments start. The passive aggression shows up. The subtle distance from people who used to call you family. Suddenly, you're too busy, you're too Hollywood, you're not the same. And you know what? They're right. And that's good for you. You're not the same, and that's exactly the point. But because you still want to be seen as good or as loyal or as grounded, you keep on shrinking yourself. You keep toning it down, playing it safe, making sure no one feels left behind. And the cost is your own expansion. Your potential is negotiating with your fear of being judged, and as long as being accepted is more important than being aligned, you'll keep choosing a smaller version of yourself over and over again, while convincing yourself that you're just being humble. I need everyone to understand this. The version of you that manifests at a high level doesn't care if people get uncomfortable. That version of you understands that not everyone can come, that not everyone should come, and more importantly, that you're not responsible for other people's insecurity. You are not here to make everyone feel safe around your growth. You are here to grow. You are here to grow. An oak tree at one point was at the same height as the bushes at the bottom of the forest, and eventually that oak tree skyrocketed past the bushes because it is not meant to stay on the bushes level. You are meant to grow. And if that means becoming unrelatable or too much or bad in the eyes of those who only loved the lesser version of you, then so be it. Let them talk, let them doubt you, let them label you, but don't let their comfort be the reason you delay your evolution. Part 3. Relatability is the trap that keeps you average. Now let's talk about relatability, because this is one of the most toxic chains discussed as virtue. You're clinging to the need to be relatable, to be understood, accepted, and the same as the people around you, and it's bleeding your power dry. Relatability is a frequency trap. It makes you feel safe, but it anchors you to a reality that was never meant for you. You think your vision is being blocked by external resistance, when in truth, it's your own desire to stay within reach of everyone else. You want to be liked, you want to be seen as humble, grounded, one of them. But what nobody's telling you is the version of you that creates generational change cannot be familiar to the current version of your environment. It must be foreign, because you're not trying to repeat what they've done, you're trying to transcend it. Think back. How many times have you had a breakthrough idea, a dream, a bold move you wanted to make, and you stopped yourself because you imagined how uncomfortable it would make your friends, how awkward it would feel to talk about your success in a room full of people still stuck in survival mode? That hesitation right there, that is the glitch. That's the frequency conflict. You are suppressing your future to protect your past. And it's deeper than just guilt. It's identity level. You don't want to lose the part of you that was loved when you were struggling, when you were accessible, when you weren't intimidating. But if you keep trying to be relatable, you will unconsciously sabotage every single opportunity that sets you apart. And trust me, the universe does not play games with this. The second it senses that you care more about comfort than alignment, it will withhold the blessing, not out of punishment, but out of precision. See, your environment loves the version of you that's easy to digest, the one that doesn't threaten their own reflection. But when you start becoming something they can't easily explain, that's when the discomfort sets in. Not because you're doing anything wrong, but because your elevation becomes a mirror for their stagnation. And you've been trained, especially if you grew up in impoverished lower income areas, in tight-knit communities, that makes others feel small with your success is wrong. And see, you've also been trained, especially if you grew up in impoverished lower income, tight-knit communities that making others feel small with your success is wrong. That changing is betrayal to that community. It's betrayal to that lifestyle, which is why they say that your success and speaking on it makes them feel small. And for that, you are the one that is wrong. See, these communities make you think that distance means disloyalty. In that case, what do? You self-correct. You shrink. You pause your own momentum just to keep your spot in the circle. And spiritually, that is suicide, because you're slowly killing off the part of you that was built to rise and ascend. See, you will never manifest a new reality while staying digestible to an old one. The people who love you may not understand this phase of your life, and that has to be okay, because your destiny is not group work. You weren't born to make sense to everyone. You were born to lead yourself out of limitation, and if necessary, then it has to be done alone. Part 4. You were programmed to conform in exchange for love. To go deeper into why all of this feels so difficult, why you hesitate, why you self-sabotage, why a part of you still flinches at the idea of fully owning your greatness, is because you were raised in a system that conditioned you to conform in exchange for love, a spiritual contract you never consciously signed, but you've been abiding by it your entire life. From the moment you were born, you were trained like a machine to smile and we'll clap, to sit still and you'll be praised. Get good grades, follow the rules, blend in, they said, and we'll give you approval. But challenge the system, step out of line, make too much noise, suddenly that love gets withheld from you. And this happens so subtly, so repeatedly, that it carves itself into your subconscious. And over time, you start internalizing a dangerous belief that if you don't conform, then you won't be loved, and if you stand out, then you will be abandoned. And now you're an adult still haunted by that same mental conditioning. Every time you take a step towards freedom, a voice inside warns you, careful, you might lose your people. Careful, they might not like you anymore. That's not your intuition. That's not your higher self. That's emotional programming from childhood, still running the show under the surface. And this is exactly what I mean when I say the good person identity is a cage. Because it's not about being kind or moral, it's about staying agreeable, staying small, staying non-threatening. That version of you that doesn't lead, that doesn't disrupt, that doesn't manifest anything beyond what society deems acceptable. And you know what else it doesn't do? It doesn't change lives, not your own and not anybody else's. And the paradox is, the people who trained you to conform are the same ones you now seek validation from. You keep looking back to your environment for approval, hoping they'll clap for you as you rise. But they can't, not because they're evil, but because your evolution exposes their limits, and that makes them uncomfortable. So they guilt trip you. They try to pull you back, and worst of all, you cooperate because their energy is familiar that you don't see how it is working against you. And this is how the loop survives. You want success, but not if it costs connection. You want freedom, but only if it doesn't trigger rejection. And so you stay stuck, not because the universe is blocking you, but because you keep prioritizing belonging over becoming. And to make this plain and understandable, to say this in layman's terms, Your desire to be loved is the back door your old identity uses to sabotage your future. It will use guilt, it will use shame, it will replay every moment someone said that you changed like it's a crime. And the truth is, if evolving into your higher self means breaking the social contract, then break it. Rip it up, burn it, and set it on fire. Because the love that demands you stay small is not love, it is control. And you weren't born to be controlled in any way, shape, or form. Part 5. Becoming a bad person is how you set yourself free. To talk about what it actually means to be a quote-unquote bad person, not in a moral sense, not in the surface level societal sense, but in terms of energetic sovereignty. When I say you need to become a bad person, I'm not talking about causing harm or moving reckless. I'm talking about breaking the invisible rules that keep you docile, dependent, and digestible to society. You're going to have to betray your conditioning. You're going to have to violate the terms of that social contract, not once, but every day. People are going to talk, and you let them talk. You let them say whatever it is that they want to say. Because the truth is, every person who ever shifted their reality in a radical way, every icon, every leader, creative, visionary, they were labeled bad by someone who couldn't understand them. That label doesn't mean you're wrong. It means you've exited the simulation. It means you've escaped the prison that is the acceptance and tolerance of other people. And that's exactly where you need to be if you're serious about manifestation. Because manifestation isn't about love and light. It's about alignment and command. It's about stepping so fully into your power that the universe has no choice but to rearrange itself around your certainty. And you can't do that while asking for permission. See, bad people, and the way that we're defining it, they move with audacity. They act from self-trust. They don't ask, they decide. They don't explain, they execute. They don't shrink for anyone's comfort. That energy, that's what materializes outcomes fast. That's the frequency that bends reality. Why? Because it's unfiltered conviction. It's identity without apology. And that energy holds more weight in the quantum field than 1,000 affirmations you don't believe. See, the moment you stop trying to prove you're a good person, life stops testing you like one. You stop attracting situations where you have to prove your loyalty, your humility, or your struggle. You stop getting stuck in cycles of almost success. And that is when the shift happens. Because the universe doesn't reward virtue, it mirrors vibration. And if your vibration says, I can't rise unless everyone claps, then the universe will keep you where the claps are. Small, familiar, and stagnant. So yes, become a bad person. Be the person who says no. Be the villain in someone else's story. Be the person who does what they want. Be the person who triggers others into self-reflection just by existing. That's not cruelty, that's contrast, that's clarity. You didn't come here to babysit people's comfort zones. You came here to break chains, starting with your own. And in conclusion, the reason you've struggled to manifest the life you know you're capable of isn't because you lack discipline, technique, or belief. It's because you've been subconsciously trying to stay good, to stay agreeable, to stay relatable, to stay small enough to be loved. And that identity, that invisible mask of goodness, has quietly sabotaged your alignment every step of the way. Because manifestation is not about being morally acceptable, it's about being energetically sovereign. The universe doesn't respond to your intentions, it responds to your frequency. And if your frequency is apologetic, hesitant, self-editing for the sake of approval, then your desired reality will always remain just out of reach. What you truly need is to detach from the demand to be liked, to stop needing to be the person who never makes waves, never makes anyone uncomfortable, because that version of you, the one that plays by the rules of everyone else's expectations, will never create anything extraordinary, and deep down you already know this. That's why you're here listening to this video. So now the decision is yours. Do you remain in silent agreement with the social contract that's kept you stagnant? Or do you finally become the version of yourself who stops asking for permission and starts commanding reality on your own terms? That version of you, The one you've caught glimpses of in moments of clarity and courage is waiting for you to choose. And when you do, when you fully step into that new frequency, you'll realize something powerful. You were never bad for choosing yourself, you are just no longer available to be contained. If this message struck something within you, if it clarified what's been holding you back, then share this with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a comment with the one line or realization that hit you the hardest. And if you're ready to stop conforming and start creating, subscribe to the channel, because what's coming next will challenge everything you've been taught about reality and show you how to take it back within your own control.